Okay, perfetto. So, good morning to everyone. This is the fourth day of the first week and the last day of the first week of the summer school Digital Tools for Humanists. This day is related to how to build an e-catalog of a virtual exhibition. Yesterday we saw how to build a website for the specialized for the world of galleries, archive, libraries, and museum, and this kind of institutions and also for our researchers we need to produce some other items just like e-book, e-catalogs, something that the people can download and read and see, not necessary in the web, but from the web. So this lesson is about this, how to do it, which choices to do, how to manage with the tools that we have in this moment. I think that Nicoletta will say to you that the tools are constantly changing, but how they work is normally so they normally work in the same way. So there are some way of doing things that are similar. So it is important to understand the main issues in order to then in some circumstances change the tools, the particular tool. Okay, now is the time that Nicoletta Salvatori to speak, and I leave her the possibility to do it. Good work.
So, hello, hi everybody. I'm sorry I'm not so fine today because yesterday I had my second vaccine doses, so I'm a little clumsy, but I'll try to follow the slide and to give you something. Today we will try to concretely realize any catalog from and we work from only an editorial point of view. I need to say that I'm a journalist. I was an editor-in-chief of some national magazines some times ago in my first life, and now I deal with digital editions, ebooks, catalogs, web publication, and I work for some communication agencies to realize the project in digital content marketing. I'd say this to you only because you need to know that I teach at the University of Pisa, but I'm not an academic. And this is means that I cannot really help you in your specific field and research, but I can give some information about and tips about editing, graphic design, and marketing communication. It's not so easy and it's not so immediate to understand how you have to realize a catalog or a book that has its own structure, its own architecture, and needs to follow a process, and this process we try to see together today. We will use a open source graphic design software. The name is Scribus. I hope that some of you have already downloaded Scribus. Scribus is a very powerful and multitasking software, as much as powerful almost as much as powerful that InDesign, without any fees attached. So you can freely use it, and it can end your work in realizing MPDF. We will see this afternoon that there are other softwares and other way of doing a e-catalog. In particular, there is now the possibility to realize a ebook, a catalog in a format, in a new format, this EPUB 3 format. That gives other possibilities to our product, but there are pros and cons, and we will try to see all these problems together in the afternoon. This morning I will try to concentrate the theoretical part in the first part, and then we will start to move our hands and put in the hands on the software. You will have in your teaching material some pictures, some texts, and also an ebook. The ebook, I need to thank the editor with which I work to give us the opportunity to have this ebook. Is the last possibility is that we have to make a interactive catalog, and it is an ebook in EPUB 3 format. What we will do is to realize the same or almost the same catalog in a PDF format. Okay, let's start. Any question? Can you follow me? Can you hear me? So everything okay?
Everything's okay.
Yes.
Okay. Has anyone of you already used a graphic design software like Express InDesign?
No.
So which kind of software do you usually use? Word processor, I think. You use what you use to write and to edit a text. Please speak because it's.
I use Word.
I use LaTeX.
LaTeX. Okay. I don't know anything about this. Okay. Remember that when I share my presentation, I cannot see your hands. If you put your hands on it, you have asked me something. So please speak in the microphone and interrupt me. Okay, let's see. Finestra, catalog. Ok, no, non è venuta. Okay, can you see the slides now?
Yes.
Okay. Track. Voilà. Beh, questo l'ho già detto. Okay, everybody knows what a catalog is, just a publication, and what are the characteristics of a publication like a catalog. from an editorial, a publisher point of view, is that you can browse it easily. You have enjoy the picture and read all the required information for every items in a way that are well organized and can inform you well. So this means that to realize a catalog, you need a very good mental and real organization. You need to organize the content, but also to realize a layout, an effective layout. So when we speak about publication, when we printed or not printed the publication, you speak of a tool that is that have a very a lot of ways of communicate to the target. Everything in a book is a communication tool, starting from the cover, from the pages, for the number of pages, from the styles of the text, from the way of the layout put in front of you, the images and the text, and so on. So even the paper is a means of communication in a book. So the kind of paper or the size of the book. So when we try to realize a book, any kind of book, we need to understand what kind of content we like to communicate, how, and responding to the needs of what kind of target. An e-catalog is not only a digital version of a printed catalog. What we will do today is to realize a PDF catalog, and the PDF is also the format to print a book. So when you realize a PDF catalog, you realize something that could be printed too. When you realize an e-catalog in a format, in a different format, EPUB 3 format, ebook format, you realize a completely different object. So this is one of the first choice that you have. You want something that could be printed, or you want something that is only digital. But in any case, an e-catalog is different from a printed catalog, and you need to know how much of the interactivity and multimediality you want to put in it. Okay, and also because we know that an e-catalog is open to comment, to sharing, so it's open even if you can have and read your e-catalog offline, and this is one of the most important things that you need to understand. You need to distinguish the possibility to have a catalog online and a catalog offline. If you realize an e-catalog in PDF or in ebook format, you have something that you can read without being connected online, and this is important in many cases. There are a lot of different choices because there are a lot of different way to communicate and think to communicate to our reader, and each of the choice is important because communicate a different thing. So we need to process all of this situation and decide what we want to do. So we need to face a task like this, thinking that we need to organize your work very well. we needed to edit records and for any items that we have, and so we needed to have standard rules to follow. So we decided what kind of records, what kind of card we need to attach for each items, and what kind of information we need to give to each one of the items we need to put in your catalog, and it depends on obviously from the target that we have. So the first answer that we have to give, the first question that we need to which we have to answer is which is our public, which is our audience, who is in front of us, and what are their needs and their interest. Obviously, in a catalog, you can have an informative part. You can have text, you can have articles, you can have also parts that are written parts.
Excuse me, sorry for interrupting you. I'm seeing the first slide. I don't know if it's my problem or in Teams something happened.
I am at the third or the fourth slide, so let's see what you see now.
Okay, now it's the number 4.
Now it's number 4, but if I reproduce it, you see that the number 4.
Yes.
Okay, so I start from this. Okay, and also it's a very important thing to say is that the catalog is a strategic communication tool. It's a marketing tool. So when a museum or a gallery or an exhibition decided to have a catalog, it's not very different from the IKEA catalog that I put in the slide, because it promotes not only the items, not only the picture, not only the content of the museum, but promotes itself. So it's a very important communication tool and a strategic in a marketing point of view. So a well done catalog is an identity card of the institution that presented. So making a good layout using the good quality picture is really important for the promotion of the institution, not only of the exhibition, the promotion of the the work that is done. Yes. Well, I don't need to say to you how many different way of cataloging there are, because you know this better than me. What I think that is important for us is to give what kind of thing that we have to do to realize a catalog that could be functional, easy to consult. This is one of a very important matter, because you need to find your items very easily. You need to browse the catalog, and the catalog is not a book. You don't read it in a linear way, not one page after another. You can browse the pages, so it's a sort of network, and it should be realized having in front of us this necessity of giving the reader a different kind of experience. In some parts, our reader can read the pages as it can read an article in a linear way. In some other pages, he needs to be free to change page whatever he wants, to find what he wants very easily. So it's important to decide what kind of design, graphic design, can give us these possibilities. I have already told you about the difference between print catalog and digital catalog.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm still seeing the fourth slide. I don't know if it's my problem or it's just like before.
I try to use this situation. It's not the right one, but I can change in this way.
Maybe you should not do the presentation.
Yes, because if I put the presentation on, it doesn't change the slide. I think so. Okay, let's see in this way. Okay, all my animation are gone. Let's see. Obviously, it depends on the resources that you have or the institution has to choose if to realize a printed catalog or a digital catalog. Usually, both of them are done. I mean, nowadays, if you have something printed, you also need to have something in a digital the digital manifestation of it. But not always this is possible, because a printed catalog is really expensive. So what we need to always of something, sometimes you need to decide what kind of catalog you want, if you can print it or only have it in a digital manifestation. Obviously, there are some privilege in having a printed catalog. No, because print catalogs has some advantage in them. Not last the thing that they are a material thing. You can touch them. You can have it. You can go to the museum shop or the exhibition shop and buy it immediately, because you has been very interested in the exhibition itself. So it's an object. It's something that you can always have in front of you. Okay, you can keep it on your table, on your text. It's always available, and it's also, from a marketing point of view, a constant exposition of your brand. So it's an important thing. It's friendless and it's accessible. Umberto Eco says this, that the book is perfect, so it's impossible to go over the book. Obviously, when you have a printed catalog, you need a connection. You don't have a battery. You don't have anything of this. Is readable, is shareable, is everything. If some of you haven't already seen the advertising of the IKEA catalog in YouTube, please do this, because it's incredible. It's very, very nice, and it's the advertising of the book, the printed book as itself, and it confronts itself with the e-book, the digital catalog. Obviously, the e-catalog has some other characteristic and some other advantages. It's immaterial, okay? It costs almost nothing in terms of printing and paper and distribution. Can be stored everywhere. Can be stored in a laptop, in a book reader, in a tablet, in a smartphone. The consultation is very easy. You can read it, as I said before, online and offline. Offers some other contents than a written catalog. It can offer video and audio files. It can contain elements of interactivity, like commentary, sharing. No? It can be linked with sites or social networks. It can be constantly updated, and this is important for a museum or for a gallery, because with no cost at all or low cost, you can have every time you want a new edition without any cost or almost any cost. And it's also really eco-friendly. Natural resources wasted for the realization of this catalog, this kind of catalog. So obviously, this is not your decision. Is not the institution that decided if you want a new catalog or a printed catalog. But those are the characteristics that everybody needs to know to have a rational to take a rational decision. Other thing that we need to consider that the catalog usually is composed of many different parts. Some of which are constantly present in each catalog or in each book. I mean the title page, the introduction, the presentation, the index, the notes, the appendix, and so on. So there are parts that you need to put in a book in any case, but in a catalog you have different parts because you maybe need to have some introductory articles, some the biography of the authors. So you need to organize the book considering all the different parts of a catalog or a book, sometimes a book. You have to needs to have a different kind of layout because they communicate different things. So in a catalog, you have a book in a book in a book. You have a different kind of books and different kind of layouts that needs to be put together and to organize in a way that they combine together. They speak the same language graphically and contenutistically, I will say this. Now the subject is the same, the content is linked, but the way we need to present the different parts of the catalog is different, and this is really an enterprise, something that you need to understand. You need obviously data, information for each items, and those needs to be well organized and standardized. You need images very good images, high resolution for print catalog, not low resolution for I'm sorry, high resolution for a printed catalog, and low resolution for e-catalog, but in any case, very good pictures, because a catalog without picture is not it's not a catalog, or with a low quality picture, it's very hard to sell or to see. And you need an idea of the general structure of your catalog. So we need to enter in the zone of the graphic design, in the graphic design. So when you need to publish a paper catalog or a digital catalog, you pass from the same basic format. You need to realize a PDF format. PDF format is the standard format for printed anything. So if you want to print a book, you need to give to the typography, to the printer, a PDF format. If you want to realize an e-catalog in PDF format that you can read directly in your laptop or in your smartphone or in your tablet, you don't want to print it, but you want to share it in your site, from your site, and online, you need to realize a PDF. To realize a good layout, in this case, you need a desktop publishing software, because it's not enough to work with a word processor. And this is why we try to understand in which way this desktop publishing software works. Even if you want to realize a catalog in format, in EPUB 3 format, EPUB 3 format is the format for ebooks that can be read in a tablet or a smartphone, and can have in themselves some interactive possibilities, and also multimedia file. It's a multimediality in them, so you can have video and audio in the book itself. Also, if you want to realize a EPUB 3 format, you need to have a graphic layout. To have a graphic layout, you need a desktop publishing software. Okay, so this kind of tool. Okay, can you follow me? It's something that you already know. I really don't know. Okay. Just a little incursion in the paper world. This is important because the first decision that we need to make is the decision about the size of our catalog, our book. If we need to realize and this is what we are going to do, a PDF that is only in an e-catalog, that can only be seen and read on your digital devices. We need to graphically design a catalog that resemble the screens of our devices. If we want to publish, to print this catalog, maybe in the future, we need to think about the size of our book. So what we say, the format of the book, the size of our publication. And this is one of the first choices that every publisher needs to do. Now, how big is the book? And to optimize the cost of the cart and the cost of the book itself. So we need to decide how big is our book, how big are the pages, and this is important from a organized point of view, because you don't know if your PDF in the future will need to be published, or maybe you want simply printed your PDF in your printer. And so you need to decide what kind of size you want to have it. All the standard standard size for the paper, the book size, comes from a format that is called E0 format. And every different format that we have and that we know, we usually know only A4 format, okay? Because this is the document page, the standard document page. So forget about the A4 format as a book. No? There are no books in A4 format, just only some university press books or like something like this, but you have decide a format that is not a document format. I mean the format of a sheet of paper in your printer, but you need to decide other formats from some other standards. When we have this standard, we have this standard just taken the industrial roll of paper that is almost 1 square meter big, and cutting it. Splitting in two parts the longer side of the paper. So to have the different standard of paper that we need, we just need to cut, to split into along the longer side your sheet of paper, and you obtain the different format. Obviously, you don't need to decide always the standard for the paper, but every publisher needs to know that if he changes the standard, he will waste the paper, and so this cost the book will cost a lot more. If you don't need to, let's see what I have from this. This I don't remember. I put in this slide some of the standard sizes for different kind of books that are used in the publisher companies, and some different standard sizes for the paper. This is not important for our exercise because we needed to realize a new catalog and we don't see any possibilities to print it, but it's always better to know what kind of decision we have to take if in future we will need to print the book. After having decided the size, we needed to decide the number of pages. And this is important in any case. To have a rough idea of the number of pages means that you need to have a rough idea of the structure, the architecture of your book. And this is printed in the paper world. It's very important because thinking of pages is thinking of the cost of the paper, obviously. All the printed methods that we have print many pages, in a single row. So I put many pages in a single row and then cut and trim them. So what we need to do is decide the number of pages depending on how it could be printed. It's used in the publishing company to have this, the idea of pages depends from the signature. Signature in this case is the number of pages that the printer can print all together. And they are 8, 16, 32, or 68. So we need to think 8 pages a time to decide how many pages our book can have. So you can see this. This is a representation of the printed sheet, the sheet of paper that will be mechanically folded and trimmed and put together to realize a signature. Can you see this slide?
I think we are always on the slide with the paper formats. Okay, now it's changed.
Ok. Non so perché succede questo. But in any case, you need to, you see, the signature are those little, books in the books, little folded pages in a books. And a book is made by different signature. Okay. So when we decide how many pages we need in our book, we need to decide to decide a number of pages that is multiple of 8. Okay. You can say to me, okay, it's not important if we do a PDF and we can stay in our PDF and we don't want to print it, but it's always a way of not put our mind and decide the architecture of our book in a way that maybe you can print it. You know that now we have printed on demand. You can realize your ebook or your PDF, and then you can give it to Amazon and say, okay, I want five copies printed of my book. If you haven't decided how many pages you have in this way, you can have it. No, what you can have is a book that maybe will have a lot of white pages at the end, because it's impossible for a printer not to think in a multiple of 8. And so if your book is not a multiple of 8, you could have a lot of white useless pages in it, because you don't have considerate, you don't have deal with this problem. So better to construct the book in this way. When you want to realize only any catalog, you have another problem that is not the size of the paper, but it's about the size of the screen. Okay. Because if you want to realize any catalog that is well, that you can read easily, correctly, and in a limbic way, we say, in a way that is not the way we see a computer, we work with a computer. It's a way we enjoy to read a book. So in a way that is easy and amusing and enjoyable, you need to realize a catalog that is well. It could be well written on a screen, and so you need to have on mind the size of the different screens of the different devices. Okay, and one of the decisions that you have to take is the orientation of the documents. Okay, so you can have a horizontal orientation or a vertical orientation. Okay, usually portrait orientation, vertical orientation is the orientation of the paper documents, no? When you used to publish or to share our document in E4 format, we use a E4 format in a portrait orientation. But most computer and TV screen use landscape orientation. No? Usually when we have a lot of images, we switch in the landscape orientation. You need to think that in a book, when you open a book, you have on the same time the two different orientation, because the book, when the book is closed, you have a portrait orientation. So if you make the page your base, the page is a portrait, has a portrait orientation. If you open the book, you have immediately a landscape orientation, because you have an orientation in double page. Double page is when you open a book, you could have an image that takes 2 pages, not 1, and so that is oriented in an horizontal way. When we read a document in a tablet or on a smartphone, in our laptop, that is also graphically very important. It's very importantly, it is important to have very beautiful and quality picture. You need to decide from the beginning if you have one orientation or the other, because if you have a landscape orientation, you can put some very a big image that cover all the screens, but if you have a portrait orientation, the landscape oriented photos became very, very small. So you need to decide which orientation you want. You can say that most devices can switch their orientation, but not when you have a PDF. because the PDF is a rigid format. You cannot, it's not a responsive format. And so you need to decide from the beginning what kind of orientation your document should have. PDF. PDF, it's a format that has a lot of advantages, as every one of us knows. It's a universal standard. It's the representation that we use for exchange documents because every every devices will read it, but has some cons in it. The basic unit that we use in PDF is the page. Okay, this means that when I was young and I used to be in magazine, no, for me the PDF was something that it has to be sent to the printer. So it was the printer in the office that's changed my document in PDF, because the PDF is like an image, something rigid. It doesn't when the screen is very small, the page that is the basic union of the unit of a PDF become almost illegible, unreadable. Okay. So anybody who tried to read a PDF on a smartphone knows what I mean. When you have a very little page, a very little screen, you cannot read it. You need to zoom on the page. So this is a minus that we need to understand and to overcome when we make a layout in PDF. When you use the EPUB format, that is the format of the ebook, this is not your problem, because the format is made in HTML format, the format of the web pages. And so it adapts itself like water on the screen that is where you read it. So it's very different, your experience of the book, because in one case you have a rigid situation that maintain their characteristic in any screen that is where it's shown, and in other case you have a flexible situation, and in your ebook adapt itself to the screen. Okay, let's start with a plan. Okay. You have a plan like this in your material. I try to translate. See. To translate layout guide or flat plane in internet, I always call it timone. The timone, the layout guide, used to be a large sheet of paper on my office wall when I was editor-in-chief for some magazines that contain the mask. So this is okay. That contain the mask of the book. Each page it's one of the square is a page. It's the representation of the page, and you need to write down in these squares what kind of content you want to put in each pages. You see, I have divided it in different signatures, no? 16 pages, 32 pages, and so on. And I have separated the cover from the content of the book itself, because cover is a file apart. And then I try to put in each page the content that you need to put in it. In this way, we can decide how many pages we will have our book we will have at the end, and how many pages we like to give to each article or each part we decide in which we will decide to split our catalog. In any case, you have some pages that you need to dedicate to title, half title page, to the credits, to the title page, frontespizio, to the copyright. You have a dedication, you need a page for the dedication. You have the table of contents. Usually you need more than one table of contents, more of one index in this kind of book. So you need to have a table of contents in front that gives you the rough information from the parts in which your book is composed, but then you have some other index and bibliography at the end. You can have a preface, and you can have 1, 2, 3 pages of your preface. You can have an introduction, and you can give to the introduction a number of pages you want, depends on the text that you have, and you can decide to distinguish some parts, dividing the book in base of the subject of the matter that we are dealing with. There is a layout guide in your teaching material, and you need appunto to understand that when you make your flat plan, you need to put some parts that you don't have to forget. For instance, at the end of the book, you can have I told you some other indices, the bibliography, the cytography, the acknowledgement, the biography of the author, if you have it, and you can decide to give some pages or 1 pages to other works, or the serial of book that are in this of the publisher, and so on. So you need, when you decide the number of pages of your ebook, and you have to decide the structure of the book, to have a flat pen, so you don't find yourself at the end and you know that you forget something that you need to put in a book. So the flat plan is a work in progress. I think it's changed every day. So it's not something that is written on stone, but you need to have it just to follow a lead, and to decide how many pages each part of your book, each article, or each portfolio, or each group of items needs to be put on pages. Okay, after having seen your general plan, you need to go on the page itself. To edit, to realize a book, you need to define if the format of the page. We already have decided the size, but when we have decided the size, then you and established the number of pages that we have, you now decide the appropriate guides, the appropriate grid for the content that we have. What's a grid? The grid is a series of column and row that divide our page and give us standard spaces that we can use in a creative way. You don't put your thing in a blank pages, because every time you decide to put images and text in a page, you have a different idea of the page. This is not a good thing. The good thing is to have a rigid grid in which you can put your material. You can have a very different layout with a rigid grid, but every layout that is different share with all the other layouts the same equilibrium, the same criteria, and the criteria is given by your grid. I don't know if I was clear in this, but in general, we if the numbers are the numbers of row and column is high, you can have much more freedom in your layout or your imagination, I will say. What kind of grid we need to decide? Usually there is a ratio. You have a 5 column and 7 row, 8 column and 10 row and so on, but it depends on the size of your pages. Why this is important? This is the reason why. You see how many different layout this book, this catalog has, but the grid is the same. This means that you have the sensation, the experience of an organized book, of how do you say? It's an equilibrium in graphic. The graphic design is very balanced because the different part or the different spaces, the whites and the white parts of the pages are the same. Even if the picture and the text follow different, have different justification, of different sizes. This means that gives you the right experience of the book. Let's see if I can show you this better. You can see this in you have this grid. It's very it has in blue you see the margin of the page. This is the margin. Outside this margin you cannot have text. Then you have in green different column, white two rows, because you have this means that the text have to be that have to be distantiated, and you decide the distance once for all, the distance from each text. And then you have some red lines that are the lining, no, the space between lines. Okay, this very simple grid means that I can do all these and many more different layouts of my pages. But all these layouts belongs to these grids. This idea is a fundamental one if you want to publish something online or in a digital way or in a printed mode. And here we have the different parts that we can have in our mind to decide our grid and to decide what kind of parts of the book use some kind of style and some other. You need to have the running heads. And so you need to decide that the margin, the head margin or the bottom margin of the pages need some space to put some information in it, okay? Running head, number of pages, running foot. Then you have to decide if you need or not a drop cut, what kind of justification could have your text, what kind of caption you want to put in your book, and so on. So it's not so easy to do, and all this stuff must be decided before, okay, beginning to put text and images in your book. Okay, other thing, and then I stop and we try to use, if you don't have, you can use the break to download the Scribus, and we can begin to follow these tips and so on. The other thing that is most important to decide before doing anything is the style of the text that we need to put in our book. This is not a vain thing to do, because the readability of the text depends on the kind of style of the font that you need, that you are going to use, but also depends on the length of each line. It's impossible to read the text that are written with a line that goes over 64 characters. Okay, because it's impossible. You cannot read it. You can lose your you can lose the line. So it's important when you decide to make a layout of a page, decide what kind of font, what kind of character you use, how big or how small you want to use, how many columns you have in your pages, how long is the line that you want to put in your pages, because all of this is a way of communicate something to the reader, and it's important for the readability and for the easy use and browse of your book. Also, the text can have different style. A text can be justified, a line to the right or to the left, centered. And the decision between these different kind of style in the style have their consequence. They are not neutral. Okay, you cannot have a long text centered. No, the centered text is for an epigraph. No, for a dedication, for a title, but not for a text. because it's very hard to read. So you don't want that a reader just stop reading your test because it's not well justified. Right align test or left align test are very useful for boxes or for caption. Usually, if you have a text, a long text to read, you justify it, and so on. You need to decide the size of your text. Okay. Usually we use 12 point, but if you want your text could be easily read on a screen, it's better to use 14 or 16 point. It's important to decide the space between the lines, the line spacing or leading. Okay, usually the right leading is 20% bigger than the point that you have decided for the text. So if you have a 12-point character, it's better to have a leading of 14, okay, and so on. Because leaving a good space, white space within line makes everything more readable. And you need to know that it's harder to read on a screen than on a book, on a paper. And so it's better to use bigger character and bigger leading in a book that is due to be read on a screen. Forget all about this about ebook, because the ebook is in another side. It's a site in a box, so it's like a piece of the web in a box. So it can compensate everything by himself. But if you need, if we do it as a PDF. We need to know that the PDF is a rigid page, and what we put in the PDF is what we see in our screen. Okay, and also the number of lines that you read in a pages. How many times we have refused to read a book because it's so full of a little text and so many lines in each page that it was impossible to have the idea to read it. So also it's strange to say, but also the number of lines of the pages make a book readable or not readable. Okay, last thing to say. Okay, this we will see this after is the cover. Last but not last. Readers shop with their eyes. So the cover, it's one of the most important thing of your book, and also if it's an ebook. So the decision about the kind of image that you put in your cover is important, but also the organization, the colors, the hierarchy of the text in your cover are very important, and they must be decided. It's a file in itself, the cover. It has been always also in the paperwork, the cover has a different, just a different process of realization. It has a different kind of paper. So it's really a thing that you need to decide by itself, because it depends on many things. The titles, the subtitle, the thing that you need to write it down, the number of the author, the name of the author, the name of the publisher company. Everything must be organized in a cover, in a very elegant and the right way. The words of the cover are important, and they have their visual hierarchy. And so you will need to arrange the title, authors, and everything in a way that is elegant but also informative. And this is not so easy as it seems. Okay. Okay, I've already said this, that it's a different image. For the cover, you need a different tool. So Scribus is not image editing program. Scribus is only a program that gives you the possibility to make a very good layout of your book. But to make a very good cover, you need to pass your images through an image edited program like Photoshop or GIMP, or maybe Google Photos. It's not important to have a Photoshop to realize a cover, but it's important to organize, to put together your image in a way that can be done with a different software, different tool like GIMP or Google Photos, or if you also the editor, the image editor of Word is good. Also in Mac you have Anteprima preview that is good enough to realize an image like this. I have this okay. Those are some program, image editing program other than Photoshop that you can use not only for the cover but for the also for the preparation of the images to put the images in your book. It's okay for our exercise. It's okay if you have the image editing that is linked to Word or Pages or your word processor in your computer. We can use them. But for your information, those are names, the names of the software that we can use to edit the pictures. Okay, I'm going to stop a little bit. I need a break, and you too, I think. Any question?
They should download a software, Nicoletta.
Yes, I told them so.
Maybe repeat the name of the software and the link.
The software is Scribus. You have in your teaching material everything about this, but I can see if I can do this. Let me see. Summer school. Hands-on. Qui abbiamo ok, quello che faremo dopo, eccolo qua, lo vedete?
Yes.
Ok,
Just stay.
allora,
So leave this screen on.
ok.
In this break. So everyone, please download this software, and then we will continue at a quarter to 11, right?
Okay, 11:15, and we try to make our first document in Scribus, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Bye to all.